Oops. Oh, okay. Okay. Where is my puppets? That's not it. That's not it either, is it? Here's one. Oh, was she? All right. Oh, no one else on? Right, there you are. Okay. Okay. Johnston's on now. All right. Hi, Johnston. How are you? Sorry, a little late, a little confusion here. Okay. So, Johnston, do you have this handout? I think you might. Hi. Oh, is that Yuko? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So, let me know if you have this handout. I want to make sure. Action stories with children, just so we. Yeah, I know she's here. What you see? Yeah. Yuko, do you have this one? Something's flickering. Wait. Should I just send it again? No, you don't have it? Okay. Yuko, can you also send me your email? So I can give you that as well. Now I have Johnston's here somewhere. Where is it? Where is it? Johnston, are you 350180378? For your email. So Yuko, if you have an email, post it. It won't show up. Post it in the chat so I can send you this handout. But today we're going to be talking about actions and voice, okay? Now, I can send it later for the end of class, okay? Oh, there's your Johnston again. Okay, yeah. Thank you. I couldn't find it there, Johnston, so that's why that's good for me this way. Okay. So I'll send it in a second. But Yuko, okay. And Johnson, we're going to talk about actions and voice. Now, this handout has a bunch of. You already have it? Okay, good. I thought so. Okay, this action, again, great. So we were practicing this before, Yuko and Johnston. This is good for you. So in this, I want you, Johnston, to have this and Yuko to have this for next class. So remember, yours to be practicing. It's not the first page you need to worry too much about, but on the second page, Johnston and Yuko, in the third page, it has example stories that I want you to practice and have actions for. So you can read the story and do body language, okay? So that's the first thing I just wanted to remind Yuko about. And Johnston, you got to do it as well. So body language, again, to keep our eyes interested, right? But also voice, as I said before, also Yuko, you know, because I wanted to do this with other people. You probably saw this story, Yuko, and Johnston, you've seen this before too. I read this story. But you notice I changed my voice, right? I talk about the speed, the tone, and the volume. And different changes in that will help us to speak better, right? And to have more feeling, more energy when we're talking about something. So I want you to pick a story, and when you come to next class, you're going to read a story to change your voice, okay? So practice reading. If you don't have a story, I will give you one. It'll be probably something like The Three Little Pigs or something like that, okay? All right. So that's our first review. Okay. Now, actions with the body language and gestures. Are really important. Now, why, I keep talking about these. If you practice these, you're going to have a lot better time doing public speaking. Because if you practice your voice, if you practice your actions, you're going to be less nervous, less scared in front of everybody. Practice. And I know, Johnston, you don't always practice, right? And why is it so important? It's going to help you get comfortable, get ready, okay? And a big part of being comfortable is being ready. And so I've seen so many students, you don't want to, you have to. Even I have to practice, right? It's really important to practice for a presentation. Without it, you're going to have a lot of mistakes, big mistakes that your teacher will see and know that you didn't practice. Why? Because every time you have a lot of ums and ahs and I don't know, your teacher knows that because you didn't practice. Okay? So you're going to, again, both of you, because I know Yuko, you already maybe know, so I'm just reminding you. You pick one of these stories. You have to read it with actions, okay? And the voice, you have to change your voice. So you're going to be reading a story when we come to class. Be prepared to do that. So again, I usually use like the example, the first one, silence. Don't shout, right? Don't stamp your feet. Don't talk to your friends, right? Don't clap your hands. Don't play. And be quiet. So all those actions make people want to watch more, right? If we change our voice also, it makes it more interesting. And that's all we're doing with those things. Okay? Now, from there, I want us to get to a little, because both of you are a little bit older than some of the other people in the class, or about the same. I want to talk about the next thing that we're going to do also, okay? So you guys know this, the actions and the voice, right? Right? Right. No problem. Okay. So that's homework that you need to work on. Yes. And maybe you've seen me talk about this before, but a life story. A common topic to talk about in our presentations for school often have stories, and especially stories about yourself. Okay? How do you make that more interesting? And I'm not talking about the voice and the actions, because that you can do for everything. But how do you make a story about yourself more interesting? Well, a lot of it is to do with word choice, suspense, and organization. Okay? So the first one, when we're doing a story, word choice. We want to pick more exciting words. And that's why I work with a lot of you students. I talk about antonyms and synonyms. Okay? I know we worked on that yesterday, Johnston. And Yuko, you've probably worked on it at school. Excuse me, I'm talking too fast. I'm not breathing. We talk about synonyms and antonyms. That word choice, not using the same boring word, can help us make a lot better story. If I keep repeating the word, let's say small, it gets really boring. The small dog walked to the small bowl, and the small dog ate from the small bowl, and it had a small meal, and it gets boring, right? So picking a lot of different words keeps our ears interested, okay? Keeps our brain interested. So word choice is really important, okay? So the next one is suspense. Do you guys know what the word suspense means? Do you know what suspense means? I should change something here. Yes? Okay. Hopefully you do. Suspense is where you... Yes. Okay, good. Yeah. Yuko, you haven't messaged anything for a while. Hopefully you're still watching or still can see this. Okay. All right. So in it, suspense is where we... excuse me. Suspense is where we talk about something and or make a story where we want to know what's going to happen next. You don't know what suspense is. Oh, okay. So suspense, if we're saying what's going to happen next, we want to know what happens next. That's suspense. So we can do that with our voice work and word choice by making pauses or by organization. So suspense kind of needs these two other things in our working with our voice to help it. Okay. So suspense is making us want to know what's going to happen. What's going to happen? Does this person have this? Does this person have this? So when I tell a story, let's say I tell a story about my friend Rob, and I often talk about my friend Rob doing something silly. Okay. I want to create some suspense. Okay. By making you want to know what's going to happen next. Usually it involves things like danger, right? That often is suspense, or something is unknown, or it's a surprise. Okay? So those are three things. So let's say I'm talking about my friend Rob. So once upon a time, me and my brother were walking to visit my friend. And on the way there, we decided to go through my friend's Rob's house, his backyard, to make it faster. And on the way, we see him. He's in his backyard, and he's made a fire in his backyard, in his fire pit. So it's safe, okay, right? Now, Rob said something. He said, it's not burning very well. I should go get some gas. So what does he do? He goes to get gas. He has a big gas can, and he looks at the fire, looks at us, looks at the gas can. Do you know what happens next? So there is something. I leave you with something unknown. I wait to tell you the answer. So I'm making it a little bit dangerous. I give a little bit of unknown there. What's going to happen next, right? It's a little bit of a surprise maybe. He pours the gas, right? And then I make it exciting by our word choice. And he pours the gas and whoosh, the fire shoots up. He stops. He goes, oh, that was close. I'll do it again. Me and my brother are like, you'll do what? Sure enough, he does it again. Pours it. The fire shoots up and it comes towards the gas can. He stops, goes, oh, that was really close. Should I do it one more time? And me and my brother are like, okay, I'll do it one more time, he says. Oh no! We thought, oh no! And he pours it again, and whoosh! And the fire's really coming up to the gas can now. He throws the gas can away. Yes, yeah. It's scary, right? Yes, you should do it again. I'm not trusting you with fire, Johnston. That seems like a bad idea. So he throws the gas can away. There's gas and fire all around his lawn now. Oh no, things are on fire. He's going around putting them out. Me and my brother are like, oh. The gas can's on its side. It's leaking out gas, and there's fire coming towards it. Oh no. He quickly runs and picks up the gas can and says, okay, that's enough of that. He puts the gas can away in the garage. Why? Because I think you'd be dangerous with fire. But the fire has come all over his yard now. He's put out the most of it, and he's forgotten something, though. Me and my brother see Rob go into the garage. He comes back out. We say to Rob, hey, Rob, you forgot something. He's like, what? Your chair's on fire. Oh, no. He quickly goes over to the chair and puts it out. No fire for you, Johnston. And he puts out the fire in the chair. He runs back in the garage. I'm like, what is he doing now? He comes out with an axe. We thought, oh, no. Oh, we're sorry. We didn't see anything bad. We won't tell anybody. He goes to chop. And he chops up his chair. So I created some more suspense there because you didn't know what he was going to chop, right? Unknown. No, does Rob know what head shaking means? Not really. Now, this is another thing that we're going to talk about for our life story is theme. This is a good story for that. Yes, I think I did tell you this story before because it's a good story because it has a good theme and it has some good suspense in it, right? Now, I change the story sometimes depending on how I want to talk about it a little bit. It's the same idea. It really happened. And he chops up the chair. And then we're like, Rob, what are you doing? We don't know what he's doing. Why would he chop up his chair? It's burnt. He says to us, oh, it's so my parents think it broke. And me and my brother look at each other like, what? What? Are you crazy, Rob? It's burnt. And it looks like you cut it up with an axe. It doesn't look like it broke. He's like, no. They'll think it broke, he says very confidently. We're like, oh, okay, sure, Rob. So anyway, the excitement over, we say we'll see him later. And he says, okay. And he continues to chop up the chair. So me and my brother go to our other friends and then later go home. The next day, sure enough, we decide to go visit Rob to see how things went. And what do you think happened? So by asking questions, you can also create suspense, right? So what do you think happened? Well, Rob did get in trouble. His father came home. He said, hey, son, you tried to cover up that the chair burnt, didn't you? And you chopped it up with the axe to make it look like it broke. And Rob said, yes, I did. And his father said, okay, well, let's burn the rest of the chair before your mother sees it, and let's get rid of the evidence. We'll just say we lost it. It's also the lawn was burnt. Yes. I don't know how he didn't think about that either. But there's a theme to our story. No, you act before you think. So think before you act should be something you should do. He did not. He acted before he thought. So with our life story, it usually has a lesson or a theme. Right? Just like stories like The Three Little Pigs or Goldilocks and the Three Bears or Red Riding Hood, the tortoise and the hare, turtle and the rabbit, they all have a theme or a lesson. Well, a life story that people tell usually has a theme or a lesson, an idea to learn something, or what to do, what not to do. I shook my table. I'm sorry. So when we tell a life story, how do we make it more interesting? Because often I find stories about ourselves are not always very good. Even when I was young, I did some speeches. I know I gave a presentation about my dog or my house or my home. They're really terrible. How do you make it more interesting? Well, you want to pick out some more exciting words. Don't use boring words like good, bad, okay, nice, fine. Those are all terrible words, right? Because they're boring. Right? We want to use exciting words. So that's why when I give you these antonyms and synonym worksheets, especially you, Johnson, you got yours yesterday, we want to be able to use more exciting words. Don't use the easiest word. Use a more difficult word. Instead of hot, say boiling. Oh, it's boiling outside. Don't say it's cold outside. Say it's freezing outside. So use better words to help your story. And that way your voice can also help when you're talking. Give yourself words that your voice can use better. Oh, it's cold outside. Oh, it's freezing outside, right? Exaggerate. Be very strong. Happy and sad too. Yes, happy and sad are boring words. If Instead of happy, what could you say? Instead of sad, what could you say, right? I think I have a list of here. I'm ecstatic. I'm excited for happy. Sad, I'm depressed, right? So use better words. And better words help our voice gives a lot more action and our face more action too. Awesome. That's right. Awesome. Right? Again, when we want to create suspense, it's about how we organize our story. Okay. So, what do you do first? What do you do second? Well, I always tell people if you're talking about yourself or you're telling a story that has that you want to tell, have a lesson or a theme. All right. So that story about Rob, and I have a lot of stories about Rob because he didn't think before he did a lot of stuff. So there's lots of exciting stories. But, awesome is a good word. You didn't need to delete that. Right. So, where was I? Yeah. So when he tells a story, when I tell a story, I want to have an idea about why I'm telling the story. I like to tell stories, and I think they can be very useful because I'm teaching a lesson with a lot of stories. I have a story about bullies. I have you, Johnson. I know I've told you before. I don't remember if I've told you, Yuko, about a story, right? Okay. What happened? And so with these stories, there's a lesson involved, right? And so with our word choice, with our lesson helps us organize the story. What are we trying to tell other people, right? So we want to be able to do that. So I know for our next class, you're going to be telling a story. You're going to be using your words, and you're going to be telling a story with actions. But after that, I want you to start thinking about and working on, because sometimes it takes a little time to think of a story. Now, it doesn't have to be directly about you. My story was about my friend, Rob, right? So you can think of a story that has a lesson or a theme. I just want you to have an idea, and we'll work on our next class putting that story together, okay? So first, you're going to read a story, use your voice work. You're going to use action words to tell with another story, okay? But then we want to do a little bit longer thing and tell a life story where we learn a lesson, okay? We have to then, I think, first think about what lesson we're going to do. That'll help us organize our story, okay? And once we can organize our story, how do we organize it after? Get the idea out first. Then we can organize our story to help create suspense or excitement, okay? And then how do we help do that? Well, we think about some word choices. So it's kind of, where's my other marker? Oh, there it is. It's kind of in this way. All right? So we want to organize it around our lesson. We want to create suspense after we organize it, so we reorganize it. It's not a one-time thing, right? We don't just make a story and it's perfect when we first make it. We might have to organize it after differently. That's okay. A lot of my presentations, I do it once and I go, oh, maybe that should go first and that should go second and this and that happens, right? So nobody writes something perfect the first time, right? Every book that you've ever read, never written perfect the first time. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, she didn't write it perfect the first time. She didn't write it perfect the second time or the third time. She took a long time to create a story, right? And she reorganized a lot of it, okay? I think I even read that she would change some of it now if she had to write it again, right? So we're going to work on that also after you do those two things, okay? Okay. Cool. Now, I do have a handout when you come to class. I don't want to necessarily give it to you right now. In this handout, My Life Map, it talks about some choices that you could do for a life story, right? So where you first lived, or if you moved somewhere, or a vacation can be very good life story if you learned something. I learned to be prepared more on my one trip, or I learned about what kind of job I wanted, same trip. Um, Something that's very important to you. Why is it important? Life map, kind of life map, but that's just to talk about a life story, okay? I know it says my life map, but it's just a life story. I know. That's not my handout. I didn't make the title, so that's why. Yeah. It's a little weird. I don't know. We're not doing a whole thing about that, right? And we'll practice organizing. What's the theme? So, do you have a story that you want to think about right now? So, I'm going to erase this if you don't mind, and I'm going to put in some organization stuff, okay? Okay. My shirt's all messed up. All right. So I always start with like I'm writing an essay. Okay. It doesn't have to stay that way. Okay. Is that hard to see? It is a little hard to see. Okay. All right. I like to write like I'm writing an essay. Okay. Now it won't stay this way, maybe. Okay. This just helps us organize our ideas in the beginning. That's great. So, what is an essay? Well, it's just like a big multi-paragraph paragraph, right? So, in a paragraph, you have your topic, sentence, and things like that. Yeah, well, hi, John. All right. So, in it, our essay, we have an intro. This is where we have our topic, sentence. Okay. After our topic sentence, for an essay, we would have our leads. Okay. In our presentation, we might not put this in, but that's okay to put it right now. Okay. Because this is just going to be, instead of leads for our story, it's going to be story steps. So we can still have a topic sentence, okay? If you want, you can have a hook. Now, I don't know if you guys have learned too much about a hook yet in school. And we will talk more about a hook in future classes, okay? I don't usually do that until a little bit higher level of public speaking because it's a lot more creative time to think about a good hook sometimes, okay? And I don't always want to take a long time doing that, okay? Even for me, it's not always easy to have a great hook, okay? So our topic sentence, and then we have our story idea. So I might introduce, if I really wanted to, this is a story about my friend Rob. So that's kind of my topic sentence. And my story idea is the lesson or theme I might talk about. So you don't always have to put that in at the start, but it might be a good idea. Okay. It might not. This is just an outline. It can change over time. I know, but it's just to make people interested. Yes, that's right. It's just to make people interested. That's right. Good. It's like a fishing hook. Hooks the reader, hooks the listener, right? Same idea. So I might have my lesson or story idea here. It's about, and I say, okay, this is my story about Rob and thinking before you act, right? So that might be my story starting. And that kind of can create a lot of suspense sometimes. Thinking before I act. Oh, why? I wonder what he's going to talk about, right? And then I would have my story steps. I have to think about my characters and setting. Okay? So if I'm telling a life story, I would want to talk about my characters and setting. So I said who was involved, didn't I, at the beginning of my story? I said my brother and I were going to my friend's house, and we stopped off at my other friend, Rob. So I've introduced the characters and I introduced the setting. We're walking to my friend's house. Now, I could have a little bit more on the setting if it's important. It wasn't necessarily important in this case. Sometimes I include a little bit more about what he's doing in the setting. It all depends on how much time I have, right? But again, that's the idea of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've introduced the characters and I've introduced the setting. Then what do? I talk about the, and your teacher will talk about this when you do a plot diagram, is inciting incident. What's that? What's an inciting incident? Well, it's just the start of the conflict, or conflict start. So conflict doesn't necessarily mean fighting. It just means a problem. Okay. So it's a conflict start. All right. And that conflict should be about the lesson I want to talk about. Okay. So in that, it's connected to the lesson. So I've introduced the characters and setting, and then I get into the conflict. What's the inciting incident? Rob's making a fire and gets the gasoline, right? Okay. Then, just like other stories, he then has rising action. Rising action. So if I want to tell a story, make it like a storybook, right? Just like a real storybook. We introduce our character and setting. We have our inciting incident. Then we have our rising action. Okay? So it's just a story about yourself. You're just changing your life to a story. Or somebody involved around you, right? Okay? So rising action, I talked about how I used more and more gas and put more and more things on fire. Right? Which is terrible. But then you have your climax. What's a climax? Well, I know I'm not giving you a lot of time to write, but that's okay because I want to get it through. Climax is not necessarily the highest point of action. A lot of people talk about it like that, but for a story like a fable, oh wow, that's yeah, that can happen, right? So, and you'd have to think about a lesson that was learned at that time. Something. Thanks, Johnston. Yeah, so a party at your place, lots of kids are doing bad things. So you introduce the characters, you introduce the setting. Oh, one day we had a party and there was lots of little kids to my place, but they were behaving very badly. The inciting incident, they're going crazy. And then you talk about the more and more bad things that happen. But then you get to the climax. And now the climax is not always the highest point of action. It can be, and it often is in an action story. But because we're talking about a lesson, this is where the character, whoever, learns the lesson. Or if the other person doesn't learn the lesson, you learn the lesson. So in this case, Rob, the inciting incident was he didn't think before he did something, right? And then the climax is where he learned. After he got in trouble, he learned what happened. So the climax is not when he has everything on fire, chops up the chair. That's still part of the rising action. Okay? So the climax is really where he learned his lesson. Okay? And then this can be really short in a lot of cases, but especially in a story about a lesson, this is near the very end, like the climax, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well. So you learn to not let kids in your room, or maybe to lock your door when there's kids over, right? Something like that. That's right. And so you're learning a lesson, right? So that's a good idea. So the resolution was the follow-up, but that's also part of the climax for me and my brother, right? The resolution is that we went back to my friend's place, Rob, and to see, hey, what happened? Well, the resolution and the climax are in the same part because we didn't learn about it after, right? But if we were Rob, the climax would have been when the dad came to him and said, you should think before you act, right? You shouldn't have used the gasoline. Me and my brother just were at the resolution at the same time. So it kind of does depend. But that's okay. For a lesson story, climax and resolution are often very close, if not together. That's okay. So Johnston, do you have a lesson story? Because Yuko, that story about the party in the bed and stuff, that can work, right? Just what details do you put in, what order? Don't have this too short. Usually 2 or 3 rising action parts help the story and help push the lesson a lot more, right? Yes, Johnston. Yes, you have to have a story because you're going to be doing one and making one for our next class. Because after you do your voice work with your story and after you do your actions with the handout, you're going to be making a life story to talk about. Okay? Okay. Right? Okay. So, Yuko, what other rising action can you have? So I see they just snuck into my room without asking. Oh, just now? Are they there now? No. So yeah, you have the characters in setting. I see you have the inciting incident, Yuko, and you climaxes. Okay, so what did you learn though? Maybe to have more control or to watch little kids better, then make the first thing that they do is when they start doing it, you don't know what's happening or they run off without you seeing, right? Then rising action, you keep finding problems everywhere you look. And then the climax is, oh, I found out they've done all this stuff. I should be better at watching kids or something, or have a plan to make sure the kids stay where they are, or whatever lesson you learned. Oh, you were about 7? So, okay. So you learn that kids can be crazy. That's also a lesson you can learn. But again, have more than one rising action. Otherwise, the lesson won't be strong enough and it'll be too short or too not enough build up, right? If every story ended so quickly, it wouldn't be exciting. The rising action is a really important part to making it sound a lot more exciting. Okay? Definitely. Yeah. So, so I also try and teach a story. Let me do one more example and I'll organize it and I'll point to the different parts. So, Johnson, I'm sorry, you've heard this story also before. It's about the bully. Well, here, let me do a different story then. If you've heard that story before, I don't remember about the bully. All right. So again, with Rob, because Rob's good for stories, but this one's positive for Rob. So once upon a time, I'm normally very good at things, and I feel like I have a lot of patience, even growing up when I was young. And so my friend Rob asked me to go fishing. I said, "Sure, great, no problem. I'm great at lots of things, or I learn, and I'm very confident I can learn and be good very quickly because I'm a smart guy." So I'm very confident. Me and Rob and my brother, because we hung out a lot, me and my brother, we decide to go fishing. And so Rob takes us to a nice place because he's very good at fishing. And so we're near our home because I lived at a river or a lake kind of thing. And he takes us across the lake to the other side of the lake. And so we're all together fishing. I don't know if you know this fishing one. And while we're fishing, oh, maybe you do actually. While we're fishing, my friend Rob, he's catching lots of fish. And normally Rob's not very good at things. And I'm thinking, oh, he's catching an awful lot of fish. He's really good at this. I'm normally really good at stuff. Why am I not catching any fish? And I'm waiting there. And I try again. And I'm waiting there. And I don't catch anything. 20 minutes pass. Still nothing. I'm getting a little, okay, maybe I'm new. Okay, I'm learning. Yeah, definitely, okay. I'm learning still, okay. I try some different stuff. I try this and I try that. Okay, and still nothing. 40 minutes passes by. And now, still no fish. And my friend Rob, he's caught more than 20 fish. He's thrown them back usually. But anyway, I'm thinking, I'm starting to get frustrated. I'm like, oh, you're in a better spot. Let's trade spots. Or you have a better fishing rod. So I try a few different things. We change fishing rods. We change the hook and the lure. We change spots. Nothing. Not even a bite. Never catch anything. Never touch anything. It's been an hour at this point. I'm thinking, what is going on? Something's wrong. I can't do this. I'm really upset now. And my friend Rob comes over and says, here, let me try. And he grabs my fishing rod. And as soon as he grabs my fishing rod, oh, I got one. He got the fish. I was like, so it's not the fishing rod. It's not the spot. It's not the bait. It's not the lure. It's me. And I realize that I'm not good at everything. And it doesn't take an hour to be good at something. I realize that Rob has been doing this a lot. He's fished all the time. Well, no, I tried to be quiet. Yes, you're right. I was quiet. I was loud certain times. And okay, but he was right near me. So if I was loud, he probably wouldn't have caught fish either. But there was something subtle that he had learned by lots and lots and lots of practice, because Rob went fishing all the time. I was good at lots of other things. I was better at English, better at math, better at science, better at geography than Rob. But I realized that I had not practiced, and I expected to be good at something that I thought didn't take a lot of practice. And I thought, oh, he's just naturally talented. No, Rob knew what he was doing. He had practiced and made it look easy. Something that I thought was easy wasn't easy, right? And so just because it looks easy for someone else doesn't mean it is easy. Sometimes it looks easy because they've practiced so much and they've taken that thing that's hard and made it easy. And so I realized that if something looks easy, it's not because it is easy. It's because somebody could be making it look easy. And so that comes back to practice. So I know, again, when I give speeches and public presentations, people are like, oh, you're very talented. It's just easy for you. Well, no, it's not. I wasn't good. When I was your guys' age, you're both in grade 5, right? That was the first time I had a good presentation ever, was in grade 5. I did not have any good presentations before grade 5. I was bad, but I didn't practice and I didn't know what to do. And so my first good presentation, I had practice. And how did I practice? Well, I made a story. I organized it. And I was talking about what was called scouting, being a scout. So I planned, well, what could I do to make it more interesting? Because all my other presentations and speeches, and this was halfway or late grade 5 that I started doing this. And I thought, well, what could I do? Because most of my other presentations were boring. I didn't have good word choice. I didn't have a organized story. I didn't have any words that I could make stronger. I hadn't remembered as well as I could to, or practiced what I was going to talk about. So my voice was pretty robot and boring. My body language was always very stiff. But with this presentation for grade 5 for scouting, I practiced. I gave myself good word choices. I gave myself good organization. I gave myself body language and actions because I wore my scouting uniform. Scouting as a camping group kind of thing. And I wore my scouting uniform, which gave me ability to point and show things, and people's eyes were less bored because they had something to see, right? Oh, wow, right on. That's good. Now, that also brings up an idea that some people are just naturally talented at something that gives them a little start, but that doesn't mean they'll always be better. You could be better at Justin, but if Justin practiced over time, he could end up better than you, right? Just like if I had practiced fishing, Rob had a natural talent, I could have been better at him than him, but he had practiced also on top of his talent. So it might take me longer, right? But I had given myself a lot of practice, a lot of time and energy to make my presentation about scouting good. And so I did a presentation after that one. I thought, oh, I gave this one good presentation. I can give all of them good now. No. After I did that presentation about scouting, my next presentation, I didn't really practice. I didn't really organize it. I didn't really give myself good words or good body language. And it was bad again. I thought, oh, I need to do this more, not less. Now that I'm starting to get good at it, if I do more work, I can make it better, easier, and faster. I have to still try, though. So my other presentation, the next grade, I didn't do as well because I didn't continue to practice. I didn't continue to make myself have an easier time to give a presentation. So Johnston, I noticed for you the one time, I remember you gave a good presentation. It seemed like you had practiced a little bit, or you thought about it, organized your presentation more. You gave yourself ability to use better words and to use your voice more and actions more. But then some of your other ones, you haven't done as well. Why? Because you haven't thought about it. You're just, oh, I can do this. Yeah, I have an idea. And then you're done. No, that's not how it works. Even when I still give presentations now, if I want to have a good presentation, I have to think about it. I have to plan it. I have to practice it. I have to organize it. I have to do it again because maybe there's something I could change to make it better. By practicing, I see what works and what doesn't work. Yes, Johnston. Yeah, hang on. Yes. Yeah, well, that's good. I still don't like fishing. That's something also I learned. I don't have the patience for fishing. But again, Rob, as a person who doesn't think before he does a lot of things, he was very good at thinking about fishing. So that's something I also learned. Just because he doesn't think about some things doesn't mean he doesn't think about other things. So I don't want to paint Rob as always a bad guy and not thinking, but some things he was really good at, right? And he practiced those things. And again, practice does help a lot. It won't make you perfect. That's something that's not true. But practice will help you get better for a lot of things and help you get better more often, right? Okay. So that's enough of that. So you guys understand a story. I'm assuming your teacher has shown you a plot diagram. Is that big enough? Yeah. Here, it doesn't need to be so long. Again, introduce the character and setting. Then you have the conflict or inciting incident. Then you have the rising action. What happens? Then you have the climax and resolution. All right. So again, you know your homework of action stories. You have to have an action, lots of body language. Each of these, you can do pretty much every line will have an action, okay? When you come back to class, you'll be doing that. You'll also be telling a story using your voice work. It won't have to be the whole story. Johnston, and those monkeys, when they do that, that actually is a saying. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Right? What? Yes. So you will be doing this story stuff, actions, body language, with all the stuff. You'll be reading a story, not the whole story, I don't think, unless it's really short, where you're going to practice your voice work. But then you're also going to make a story about a lesson or a life lesson. If it's not 100% true, that's okay, because you guys are kind of young. Maybe you won't have everything there, okay? That's fine. But I want you to start thinking now about the lesson. So Yuko, you could use that fishing thing also could be a story, right? It could be about how just because you're younger doesn't mean you're not as good as someone else that's older than you. That's a lesson, right? So Johnston, do you have an idea of what story you're going to tell? Because why I want you to think about this now, even though next class, why I want you to think about it now is because it takes a little bit time to get ready for it, okay? So I want you to think about it, have a lesson ready, and I want you to start making an outline for it. We won't be doing it next class. We won't present this life story presentation next class, but I want you to think about it and practice it next class also, okay? Because, again, I want it to include good word choice, suspense, be organized. I want you to include actions, body language. I want you to include voice work in it, okay? That's something really important that you need to do, okay? So, homework, practice, body language with action stories, children. Chunky monkey. I have no idea what that is. Action. Voice practice by reading a story, and then think of theme for life story and start planning story. Okay, so those are the three things you got to do for homework, because we're going to do two of them you're going to present next class that you have here. Okay, the voice work and the body language, and you should already have your theme and some planning for your theme or life story, okay? Did you have any questions for me, guys? Just in the last 5 minutes here? Banana. Banana monkey, no. What do you mean banana monkey? You're a banana monkey. Yuko, do you have any questions or anything? Also, I will be giving you a handout. Johnson, I've given your brother the handout before. I think Yuko, I might have given you the handout. I don't know where. I had a printed out copy here before, but I don't remember where it is in my folder, and I don't want to spend time looking for it right now. I'll give it to you guys when you come to class. A bunch of synonyms for a lot of common words. I think I gave you. I think I could do it because I don't think I could do it because of my really busy schedule. Which one? The one that talks about happy and big and large. Yeah. Your brother has that. I know. I don't know if he still has it. I think I've given you one also there, Johnston. Yuko, don't worry. For the whole life story, just you already given me 2 examples. That's a good start. Okay, for that one. So the other one, just practice the action story actions. Okay, pick 1 or 2 of them to do for class. And if you don't have a book, I want you to just practice because you read it out loud and give voice work to it. Okay. Right. The next morning. Right. And tomorrow I have work on projects. I know you do. So if you just a little bit every day, just a little 5 minutes every day, actions. Okay. Don't worry, your next class will be on Monday. So you're okay. You have a little bit of time. If you come here, we'll be practicing more in class, okay? Okay? All right. So that's it for today. Oh, monkeys. Monkey power. That's it for today. I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye. My shirt's a little bit weird. Why so much monkeys? I have no idea. Because he's a monkey. That's why so many monkeys, not so much. Because Johnston is a monkey. Right? All right. I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye-bye. No, not going to say goodbye to me? Oh, so sad. Bye. Bye. Bye.